There we go. Now that's off. All right. Hope everyone's doing well. Welcome to the second course. Today we're going to talk about SDLC, software development lifecycle. I'm going to do some grooming, some Scrum poker practice, which you'd actually do in a real project. So we're going to get into it. Hi everyone. So I'm going to start. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. So I hope everybody's doing well. Had a good day, and we are ready to go. Let's see. I'm just going to. And it was sharing. Where is it at now? Okay. I'm going to share my screen here. I'll make sure I have the chat open. They'll be answering any questions you have here. We'll have some till the end. Okay. Make sure I have all this open. Can it's still taking for a second. Sorry, I'm gonna make sure it's sharing. Okay, how about now? Can you let's see if we can see it. Okay, so so like I said, we'll go ahead and get the agenda. We're looking at SDLC, the phases that we're going to go through in a software development life cycle. Then of course Scrum, which might be a new term for a lot of people. It's kind of a funny word, something you'd see on the floor or something like that, right? But it's actually a Scrum team. So we're going to talk about Scrum team. We're going to play Scrum poker, where we kind of estimate a story, and then towards the end we'll have a Q&A, question and answer session. We'll leave some time for that. And let me just make sure. Okay. And let's see, can everyone see that? So I'll make sure. Okay, I just want to get some feedback. Okay. Let's see here. You should be sharing. Okay, can you see the PowerPoint here? Okay, I've got 3 monitors, so I shall make sure I have the right one up. Okay, got that up. Okay, so yep, we're going to be talking. So that's the agenda today. So probably many of you haven't heard of SDLC. It's just an acronym, like basically the letters that stand for something, right? You've heard plenty of those in life before. So this just means software development life cycle. Okay, it's the life cycle that the software goes through as you work in an industry. A lot of companies operate it differently, but the basic idea being that it's the process of requirement building, design. Kind of go. You can think of it in like a loop, right? Like a cycle. This is the process you go over every time. So the more you're familiar with the life cycle, the easier it'll be for you to do your job as a software tester. Okay, so we're going to go into some more details what that is. And this is the actual. One sec, actually move that over here. Okay, so so it's a process, right? That all software, but you could think of a lot of industries like construction work, right? They have life cycles where they have designs, requirements, acceptance criteria, things they have to go through before they build their product, right? So just think software is just another product, right? So you have to go through your detailed planning, right? Your development, your blueprints, right? Where you're going to set up, how are you going to take care of this when it gets out? Who's going to test what? Who's going to sign off on it? How are you going to handle feature requests from customers, right? This is your life cycle as it goes from an idea in someone's head, right, to an actual product in the field. So you can think of like even iPhones, right, or Android phones. They all go through a life cycle. Someone comes up with an idea for a new feature, a new software product. They're going to push it through. So just think of the software development life cycle as the phases that all software projects go through, and that's something that you'll be working with a lot as a QA tester. This is a cool little gear here. It talks about that. Gives you an idea of kind of what keep the wheels moving, right? Keep the wheels turning. Okay, so this is a further breakdown of what we're talking about in the software development lifecycle. The word here is that they want to use is the ideation, like I talked about, right? Someone in the brain has an idea. A lot of times, the company I used to work for, GoGo, they started with a guy had an idea on a napkin, right? He just had an idea to reinvent networks for airlines, right? So he just wrote it. So he had the brainstorming idea. It starts with an idea, right? A seed that someone plants, right? Okay. So then they have that start, all right, and then they think, okay, well, we have this this big idea. What are we going to do? What are going to be the requirements, right? What are we going to need to solve this problem, right? Because there's many ways to go about it, right? But these are where the requirements come into place. What is absolutely required to get this thing out, and then once you have that in place, your sort of your framework, and then you can start to design, right? You can create the architecture, your blueprint, your roadmap. You'll see this in a lot of companies. They call them the roadmaps, how they're going to build things out in the future. Excuse me. So when they're done with the design phase and everybody's sort of on the same page with that, it moves on to the actual construction phase, right? You think about, again, I use building a house as an analogy because I think that's a great analogy. You have your designs, right? You've got the approvals from the city, everything. Okay, now your development can start work. You can start construction on your project, your software, whatever product you're building. Okay, and of course, a lot of times programmers, developers are the ones that are handling that, but you have product development, you have QA testers that are testing. And we'll talk about the different phases that you go through, the different processes of development. Testing, of course, is where you fit in there after that. But a lot of times nowadays they're trying to have them like a cohesive arrangement with development and test working hand in hand. Okay, and then deployment, that's a big word that you need to learn and understand um, um, for your job. I mean, it's one thing to just know the definition, but you have to really understand what deployment means, right? You're just think of it about I don't know if anybody's in the military, right? When you deploy things out to the field, right? You're but it's not always production, right? You could be deploying it to test. You could be deploying it to your test, your pre-release environment, right? You have this cycle of deployment. Okay. And then after everything gets out in the field, right? Everything's out in the wild. We have to maintain that. How are we going to do that? We're going to get feedback from users, right? You're going to get interaction. You're going to get updating request from the users. The CEO, he might think, oh, this is great, but can we throw this in, or can we fix that? So the maintenance is a big phase, and there's actually specific roles for that too. There's testers that just handle maintenance. I mean, if you have a really large organization, there's some that just handle maintenance. Now, if you're a smaller team, then you're going to handle all that different stuff yourself. But so that kind of gives you an idea. So study that slide, start to learn it. We talked about requirements, right? This is the beginning of the roadmap of your phase that you're going to go through. This is where all your information is gathered, right? You're going to analyze, you're going to go through it. But requirements are important. I mean, this is where a lot of defects can happen, right? If something's wrong in the requirements, that's a deviation, right? That's something that takes you away from your requirements. But sometimes the software is not built to spec. You'll hear say this isn't built to spec, right? If a car in the factory isn't built to the specifications, right? That's your requirements. Okay. So it's good to understand those. The earlier you can get in, excuse me, I hope it's not too loud. The earlier you can get in as a QA test in this field, the better, because you can understand what they expect, right? Requirements is all about expectations. Okay. If you, if you, let's see here, give me 1 second. Yeah, and somebody mentioned the bug hunt. So I think I want to make sure I'm thinking I have that information here actually. So give me 1 sec. We're going to share that actually because I realized that wasn't in here. So let me see if it's here. Okay, so 1 second here. can actually show this one to you. So we do have that to announce the winners because that's important. Let me just, I'm actually going to slide this over here. Okay, so we do. So apologize for that. It was for some reason it was not slide, but we have Nadia. I want to make sure I pronounce your name. Henzi with 61 bugs reported is the actual winner. Number one, we have Katie Leong with 53 bugs. And Ala Akinina, hopefully I pronounced that correctly. So congratulations. That's a lot. I mean, you'd go into a company and you'd report 60, 40 bugs on your first day. They're going to be like, uh-oh. So either our developers are really messing up or something's going on here. So that's and there's definitely different variation in the bugs, right? That could be anything from critical to visual to typos, but they counted those. So congratulations, and I'm sure the admin will get with you later to divvy up those discounts and rewards. So that's awesome. So yeah, sorry, that was on. So we'll skip over the slide here what we talked about. So we're talking about requirements, right? And so this is what you're gonna. So you didn't have when you found these bugs, right? I mean, you had some idea, right? But it was a lot of exploratory testing. And if anybody is jumping in for the second time here, I know we might have some newcomers, and so welcome to the class, the second round here. Yeah, we had a competition where we could they can go in there to actually get a practice finding bugs on one of the sites. So it was a good way. Now we're going to do the kind of the pragmatic stuff, right? The design and research is also part of that, right? A lot of times these companies, they'll have a plan, right? They'll have the requirements, but they'll also have to do research in the field, like depending what the industry is, right? You could be working in healthcare, for example. So a lot of research is done on what you can and can't do in the software. So there's going to be a lot of instances where you have to meet with your team to go over the requirements. And there's going to be different phases of that you're going to go through. So moving on here. And the development phase, right? This is when you have your requirements set up, when you have your you're ready, you're ready to go, you're ready to start the process of building the actual application, right? So this is when now it depends on how intense your organization was. When I worked for the company that did the airlines or the airplane networks, we had a lot of FAA requirements. So there was a lot of design requirements that had to be approved, had to be signed off on. So once that's acceptable, then they'll start the process and actually start building the actual application, right? The development team. Okay. And this is the part where now we'll talk about agile versus the different methods here. But yeah, the testing, right? This is there's a lot of different ways to do it, right? There's exploratory testing, there's script testing, there's there's test charters. In this case, if you had a requirements, that would be basically your guideline, right? You say, does this input field match the requirements? Are the colors correct? Does this particular item or component, does it do what it's supposed to do based on the requirements? So a lot of times you want to have your style guide, your style. A lot of times they'll call it your style Bible, right, for the company, or you'll have your acceptance criteria. A lot of times when I'm testing something, I'm using my acceptance criteria, and I want to make sure if anything's questionable in that criteria or something doesn't add up, you'll reach out to your product owner or your QA lead, whoever, and say, hey, something's off here. Because if you start, the longer it takes you to catch that bug, and the deeper you go down the hole of not knowing the requirements, or if there's a deviation, it's going to come back in the end. So you want to make sure that everybody's in agreement on the requirements when you start testing, because once you go down that road, that's sort of your blueprint for a test, right? You want to follow that. And see the keyword here exactly as defined. Now, And of course, you'll learn a lot. This all may be, it's a lot of information. And the more you work with this stuff, the more practice we get, it'll become easier. So once the software product is tested, right? And a lot of times organizations will have a certain level of everybody wants 100% perfect software, no defects, but a lot of times you'll just find the critical bugs, and you'll learn something about later on that's called known issues, right? Things that they're willing to live with, that they know about, that they might put off to another release. So but primarily 99% free of any defects. It's ready for deployment, right? Depending on what stage you're at, it may not be ready for acceptance testing. It may just be you're in the QA, you're ready for deployment to the next stage. Okay, so remember, deployment just means you're deploying it to another part of the process, right? So you're not always deploying it to production just yet. Okay, so think of deployment as basically releasing it to the next phase. Okay, excuse me, my throat's a little dry. So we'll talk about production deployment right now. This is the final stage of every product, right? This is production. This means it's going to go to the end user, right? It's going to go out to the field, wherever that may be. And a lot of times, depending on the level of testing that you want to do in the field, like there's something in, for example, Google Analytics, you can release to a certain segment of people, right? Here they use the word to see target audience. A lot of times, if it's just, hey, let's just send it to everybody. We have 1,000 users. We think it's great. Let's do that. Or if it's a lot of times you'll hear soft release versus a hard release. A soft release would be like, we're just going to release this to 100 people in California, for example, right? Because we want to really test our product in the field. So that's production deployment, right? You're going to actually send it out into the field. Okay. So now it's out in the wild, right? You've done a great job. You're doing a great job of getting out your software. Everybody's using it in the field. Oh, suddenly you find somebody, big user finds a crash in the field, or there's just something that doesn't there's something that they find that they want to fix, features, enhancement. This is where you start the phase of maintenance, right? Another thing you'll learn about later on is versions, right? We're going to go, this might be your 1.0 release, right? You all heard of Microsoft updates, right? That take 2 years to complete, or really long updates that you'll be sitting waiting for. Apple does the same thing. It seems like it always comes right at the perfect time. I'm in the middle of a meeting and I need the computer, and then decides to go through an update, right? That's what that is. They're maintaining and updating their software. Okay, but it's not always that. Sometimes it's enhancements. People may want a feature included into your product. It just depends, right? For example, if say you're working on Amazon, right, and they have this new cool feature where they want to add the drones option to the selection, right? You want to be able to select that, test it out, but that's going to be another cycle, another release. So then you're going to go back to the beginning of your SDLC, okay? But maintenance and updates are part of that. So, and this is the cool picture of I think like the 50s or something like that. One of the cool mainframe came a long way, right? Now you can fit them in the palm of your hand. So, okay. So let's let that sink in for a second. A lot of information about software development. Like now we're going to talk about. I like to consider these like styles of development, right? You can call them what you want, processes, project processes, but a method that's very popular today that majority of the companies that I've worked for, not all, to use something called agile. And I'm sure most people know what that word means, agile, right? Quick. When I think of agile, I think of a gazelle, right? He's quick. He's agile. He's iteratively running away from that lion. So agile, it's a process of development. I use the word iterations, right? That's think of it small chunks, right? A lot of times software companies are doing this because they want to deliver the product in smaller chunks and they want to be able to get it out faster. A lot of times that this process will get you out the door quicker, right? There's something that you'll learn about later on in the course called continuous delivery, right? We want to keep delivering to our customers on the go. We don't want them to wait 6 months for a release, right? Because that bug fix may not be included until that, and they're going to have a hard time. You're going to lose a lot of customers. They're going to be unhappy. And the process of nowadays is just so quick. You've got to keep the customers happy. So agile development style provides that. Development and release style provides that process, right? That's why, and that's where QA you get in early, right? And this agile process, you're planning your story points with the team. You're kind of planning test time, right? How long is this going to take to test, and not just to test, but to find defects and go back to the team, right? So you want to agile. The key word here with agile is efficiency, right? You want to be efficient, right? You want to be get everything done, but you want to get it done in a process that can be quickly done. And just think about turnaround time, right? You go to a restaurant, they want that table to turn around quickly to get somebody in, but they want to give you good service at the same. Well, depends where you go, but that's the agile process, right? You want to get things turned around and out the door quicker and in more smaller chunks. Okay, hope that makes sense to a lot of people. So I talked about a lot of the reasons why companies choose agile, right? Why not just let's work real hard on this and get it out the door, 2 months later, whatever. Like I mentioned, there's a lot of changes. There's a lot of things happening in the marketplace. Customers, every day you go on Google reviews, right? There's always going to be sort of feedback, right? There's going to be things that change quickly. There may be things that you didn't plan for that need to go out quicker, right? So you choose agile because you can get things done faster, and you can get bugs fixed quicker, as opposed to just going through this long process. It actually reduces your costs, right? The key word here, and you got to think about yourself as you're adding value to the company as a tester, right? You're not there just to find bugs. You're there to reduce the cost. That's why these companies invest in QA, right? Because they want to have less defects going out. So by doing agile process, you think about it. It may be, you may find more things, and you may not feel like you have time, like it's just a constantly moving thing. But in the end, it actually reduces cost because because you're getting stuff fixed quicker, and as you'll learn later on, the longer you wait for bugs to get out in the field, there's this chart that goes up, right? The longer you wait, the cost of fixing the defects goes up and up the longer you wait. So the name of the game here at Agile is to get it quickly, and to get it fixed, and just keep that process moving. So a lot of software companies are doing that. So you'll probably, in a lot of interviews, you're gonna be asked, what is the agile process? Okay, and good thing with Test Pro, you're gonna get some awesome experience with that. We're actually gonna do some today. Okay, so I talked about the other process of just kind of waiting for everything to get done at the end, right? It could be 3 months, it could be 6 months. I mean, it really depends on the length. Some organizations I worked at, the waterfall, it just seemed like forever to get out of release. And for my preference is definitely agile. I'm a person that likes to be on top of things and constantly improving. And you get that with agile, where you see in the the screen here, you get your definition. And actually you see the risk go up, right? The longer you wait. Okay. So you're putting more work into it, right? You're going down the end, and actually your value decreases. Studies have shown the longer you wait to get this stuff out, the overall value increases. You may put out a quality product by waiting that long, but in the end, you've missed out on customers that want to changes quicker. The market's changed while you're waiting a year to get your software out. So the bottom, you'll see agile here. It's a part of the SDLC that constantly keeps moving, right? You have you define, you build, you release, success, right? You do have risk, but it peaks. And you may it just depends on what the size of your release is, but you may find more bugs at the beginning. The next version, there may not, it may just be a couple fixes. You may not find as many bugs, but your risk, it's balanced, right? So think of agile delivery as a more balanced, efficient approach to software development. Whereas waterfall, you get this big, grandiose project out, but it took too long to get there, and a lot of things happen. And nowadays, we know in I don't know if you guys are familiar with something called the Moore's law, where the data increases every 2 years. It gets exponentially faster and quicker. So that happens a lot with waterfall. You wait too long, and it's too late, and you go over the water. Okay, here's a good analogy since we're talking about water. Now we kind of reversed it here on the top. Okay, so think about it. Okay. Think about it like this: we're trying to get across the river, right? Maybe it's a large body of water, right? Okay, you can cross the river with this little paddle, and I think it's a canoe, right? Looks like either a hot dog or a canoe, one of the two, but it's got paddles, so it's more canoe. And you're not going to go very far. It's going to take a while, but you get something. You make progress, right? You're a little bit further. Okay, and then the next time around comes around. Okay, we've upgraded. We've upgraded from our canoe to jet ski, right? Those things can go pretty fast. I think about sometimes at the ocean area, they have them 40 miles an hour, 50 miles an hour. Okay, so now remember, this is the same product, right? So now you've upgraded from a canoe, a hot dog canoe, to to a jet ski. And the next time around, okay, so we get some more feedback from users, right? You go out into the field. Okay, so now we want to add some anchors, and we want to add some a little bit about boats, but the mast, and we want to add some fishing poles, right? Okay, so now we've got our thing that's morphed here. Now we can go fishing. We can do more, right? We can go a little bit further. Okay, and then when we get to the end, we have our final product, right? And it's your cruise ship, right, or your yacht, whatever you want to call it. Now you can go further out, right? You can go out the channel. Now you can go out into the wild because you have it, but because you built it along the way in that agile process, and your QA found bugs along the way and those things, you're ready. You're going to be more confident in the end. Whereas the bottom here, right, can't do much with that base. All right, let's wait a little bit longer. I'm going to wait for this new shipment of the frame, right, in the second part. Okay, we're going to add a little bit more, but your devs want to take some time, and they're not too happy with that. Okay, but you can't do anything, right? Where are you going to go? I mean, you could try, but I don't want to, probably going to not get very far. You don't have a releasable product, right? Okay, in the end, you waited a year, whatever, 6 months. You've got your yacht, cruise, whatever. You can get across the ocean, but what happened along the way? What happened in that time you took it forever? So that's why a lot of these companies prefer agile, right? Because you get stuff out in increments. And so the reason this is relevant to you as a QA, because you're going to be in that process along the way. Now think about this waterfall development. Let's say you didn't get anything to test until the end. You just got that yacht. Say, okay, there you go, guys. Let's hope it's good to go, right? So these methods are going to be they work, but you're gonna get a different result as opposed to agile. Okay, so moving on to the next step. I don't know if you've heard of Scrum before. If there's any rugby fans out here, here in America, we like more North American football, but Scrum or scrimmage, right? A lot of times they get huddled together, right? And basically they learn through their experiences, right? They talk about the processes as they go, right? This agile process, and you'll learn about planning, right? Sprint planning. Then you have your stand-ups, right, where you kind of talk daily as you go. You'll have a lot of times you'll have ad hoc meetings, where you need to talk about this thing. So and so found that's a critical bug. All right, let's get everybody on the phone. And then you'll have retrospective, right, where you just you go back in time and like to the 70s and talk about your plan. Now you're going to go back 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever your sprint is. So excuse me. So that's Scrum. So that basically just think of a huddle, right? Of a team. Okay. So sprint. Product backlog, right? You're going to learn about stories. We're going to talk about stories today. Your product backlog consists of all your enhancements. It's going to consist of your bugs, your feature request. Your product backlog is just that catalog of you can think of it as a catalog um, for everything you need in your product, and documentation and traceability. Okay, how do we go back and find that bug from 2 months ago that somebody found? Okay, then you have your sprint backlog, which is just that specific sprint. It could be sprint 1, it could be sprint 2, sprint 3, right? You're going to have these iterations, and sprints generally last between 2 to 4 weeks. That's like what they say here. Uh, typically, for example, my team will work on 3-week sprints, right? Um, and I'll say that not every sprint you have a big release. Some sprints you don't have anything to release, but you're planning. When I used to do my storyboard, my story planning at this other organization, we would sit there, we'd kind of brainstorm. Okay, how long is this going to take out? Are we going to release anything this sprint, or is the sprint just going to be bug fixes? Um, you're in the sprint. It's all about planning, right? Um, and then a lot of times you'll have your demo at the end of the sprint, right? This is what the developers put together. Hopefully you found all the bugs before, or it could just be in the process where you're just demoing what you have done. So and then you have your retrospective where that's after you've done everything. Usually about an hour or so you get together. A lot of these companies, it's a good process. You have pizza, drinks, something like that, depending what office you're at. And you'll go back and you'll say, well, maybe the development, maybe we could have done this better. Maybe we could have used this process, or in the QA, could say maybe I could have communicated. It's all about admitting what you could do better, what we did well. Hey, me and developer of the buttons, right? We did well. We did some pair testing together, right? And we found that. So I thought we collaborated well. Okay, so it's not all about like, hey, we all did terrible. Everybody's gone out here, right? No, we need to humble ourselves and feel out how can we improve in the future. And humility and development, you'll find, is an interesting process, right? But that's what retrospective is. Okay, and yeah, we talked about sprint is usually um, it's not a marathon, it's a sprint. In this case, it's reverse, right? You've heard the expression, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. Well, it is a sprint, but you're getting out something, and you'll figure out how many hours you can allot to something depending on your team. Developers kind of know their work, right? They'll know how much time to allow to develop in that sprint. So these are things that you work with. Okay, what is planning? Everybody kind of has I'm sure most people have an idea what planning is, right? Before you go on a trip, right? Road trip. Okay, what are we going to need? We're going to need sunscreen. We're going to need food, right? We're going to need money. Planning. Okay, it's in the software development life cycle. It's what you do. You plan. Okay, what are we going to need? How much resources are we going to allocate? Is the Apple Mac that we use to test this specific product going to be available? Is there going to be enough mobile devices for, do we have that? Do we have the time, right? Do we have resources? And you'll see here, they talk about cost. And I mean, a lot of times, the higher ups, the executives and things like that will talk about monies and things related, but you have to plan for your time, right? Because time is money, resources are money. So you're going to talk about your risk. Now, this is a good part as a QA. This is really where you really want to step in, and you want to you want to make your voice loud and clear during this part, right? This is, you say, well, I don't think it's going to take 2 days to test this. I think it's going to take 3 days, right? And you may think, hey, that's only an extra day, but you've managed their expectations, and you get in with the software engineers may say, well, it's going to take 2 days to develop. I can get it done by Friday, but you're like, well, no, I need Thursday, Friday to test it. So this is what planning is all about, right? You plan your process out. You're gonna say, well, how about that requirements doc you guys got for me? And the developers look at you like, what requirements doc? We never got that, right? Hopefully that's not, it does happen. So then you'd be like, oh, okay, well, we need to talk to the product owner, and hopefully he has the acceptance criteria or the spec doc, anything that you can use as a guideline to test with. Right now, that's not going to, you're going to do some exploratory testing. You might write some automation. As a manual tester, you're probably just going to be going in and you're going to be following a script, but you'll also do some exploratory testing to find the defects. But you're gonna plan, right. You're thinking ahead. So as you work with these organizations, that this is your time to really this is not a time to be quiet and listen. This is a time to communicate with your team. Okay. Planning. Okay, so we talked a little bit about um, what kind of questions do you ask during planning, right? uh, Feasibility study, right? That means what's the feasibility of this, of is this possible to do? What's the feasibilities? Think about it like possibility, right? That's another word. Or is it relatively able to be done? Is this feasible, or are they out of their minds, right? And a lot of times we get that with scope creep, right? They'll come in and like, oh, that's not even feasible, possible. Okay, properly um, express requirements, right? The functional requirements. What is this supposed to do? Not just what does it look like. What is this supposed? When I click that button and the link, um, where does that take me to, right? If I put in this information and if I search in this field, is that expected to return these results? Okay, so this is, if there's something that's unclear, again, this is your time to speak up and just, you don't have to be confrontational, but like, I need those requirements right now. You just calmly say, well, I need to know this for my planning, right? Because if you talk about money, right, then suddenly everybody changes, right? Well, save a lot of money if I get, okay. Well, let's get them the requirements quicker, okay? Environments, right? What are we going to need to? Is it going to be Chrome? Is it going to be Safari? Is there going to be mobile devices involved? Is there going to be is this a regular network? Are we going to require a mobile network? Those kind of things. And this is where you start to think about your test planning, right? You can start to map out your test execution strategy. Okay, the tools that you're going to use. Am I going to use Browser Stack? Am I going to use Zephyr? Depending on what your company has available. And also, this is the part where you shine, right? You identify the type of testing that you want to actually engage in, right? Are you going to do automation? Is this going to be exploratory testing? Or are we just going to use a script, right? Are we going to use is it going to be guided exploratory? Are we going to have performance testing, right? Stress testing, all these things you need to think about. These are all the things that you want to make that crystal clear, right? You want to make sure that you have all that mapped out. So think about it again, like you're going on this road trip, this journey, and you want to have everything ready to go. Okay. Um, and you want to make sure, don't forget the sunscreen, because you will get burnt. It's happened to me a lot. So identify everything you need for your project. Okay. Now, we've included information about, now, this is what I talk about when you have everything from, Bill Gates in his garage starting a company, or whoever, right? To a college dorm room full of guys starting up, to a company that just got a first round of funding, all the way to a huge organization that but when we're talking about startups specifically, they have a smaller team, they have a smaller budget. um, a lot of time, I mean, this is where you should say, well, I learned this in my test pro studies, that you need to have some planning done or it's going to be a big disaster. You can leverage some of this, but typically um, you know, there's not going to be much testing. I'm sorry, much planning. So you're going to want to use this as a way to find bugs and say you want to use this as an opportunity to say, hey, this is why we need planning in the future, right? Um, there's going to be hopefully a ticket tracking system. Hopefully they're not just writing orders down like they do at the restaurant, right? Like you need some sort of system, but it really depends on the budget of your startup company. Um, and they don't typically have as much structure, right, as say a bigger company, right? And it's not always about size; it's just about the way they operate. So keep that in mind if you decide to work for a startup. You may have a good opportunity to integrate some of the stuff you learned, and that you're going to be, you're going to be a rock star in QA because you know all this stuff. Um, all right. So talking about grooming. Now I don't do much grooming these days because I don't have much hair going on. But what is grooming defined, right? This is a process of trimming, um, smoothing out, right? Cleaning up. So you're going to go through your user stories in the backlog, right? There may be, like we said, known issues, right? We'll get that later on, right? And it just sits there and festers for a while. And with it, we need to address that. There may be some enhancements. Maybe one of the enhancements that's been sitting there, people just been asking and asking, right? You need to go back and say, well, is this even still an option, right? So we go back, we kind of refine our board, right? We go back to the process. We it's grooming. You're grooming. You're literally think about pruning, right? If you don't prune a vine, right, it keeps growing and growing, and there's leaves and stuff going everywhere, right? You want to cut off some things you don't need. Maybe there's some things you really want to integrate, so you have those ready to go. But this is a process of think about it like fitness too, right? Like you're keeping your storyboard fit, right, and healthy. Because if there's neglect, right, if you don't do grooming, things just start piling up, and you get this huge list, and eventually they're just gonna implode at some point, right? So you want to do grooming. Nice little dog there. All right. So more specifically, we talked about it's an open discussion, right, between okay, you're going to have developers there, software engineers. You're going to have the product owner, right? This is the person that is in charge of all the requirements and the success of the product and getting everything together. Probably going to have you might have a couple managers in there. It just really depends. And then of course QA is going to be there. But the main goal of grooming is to go over the user stories, to better understand the history, right, of everything, and to go over it, and what we can clip out, what we can add, what we can improve, right? Maybe there was some stuff that wasn't worded clearly on the last sprint, so we say, hey, well, or 2 sprints ago, right? Because you can do your grooming process at it just depends on your organization, but it's a process of cleaning up everything and right staying healthy. Um, maybe you have some feedback from logs like users in the field, right? This is happening, so you need to kind of include that into your grooming session, right? So constant grooming is good. As a QA, that'll be your job to sort of champion that. If your organization's not doing that, you can really say, hey, I really suggest we do some grooming, and that, if it's a proper shop, they would know what you're talking about. Okay. And this can be it's a fun process too, right? It's not all just papers, and sometimes you're laughing, sometimes you're learning about things. um, and again, we talked about refinement, so some examples, right, you can see on the slide. We may create user stories, right, the things that we don't know, that we didn't know before, right? So discovered needs, right, things we didn't know now that we know. We go through the backlog, right? Bugs that haven't, okay, there was this bug reported, because the human brain, we forget things, right? So we go back and we're like, oh yeah, there was that line that was cutting through. Should we address that or not, right? And then you get always make sure you get it in writing, right? Get it signed off. Say, well, that's going to be okay, no issue, no big deal. Or maybe it is. Let's get it fixed. Let's prioritize that. Maybe there's a defect that wasn't causing a big deal, 2 releases ago, but suddenly this thing's really a problem, right? So now it gets bumped up, right? You can change that. You have to be flexible in your prioritization. of your stories. Okay, so and this is where your input will be valued, right? You'll say, well, based on my experience at Test Pro, I realized that you need to or whatever. You can use any relevant experience to say that this is going to be a critical issue. Let's get it up there. Stories that are no longer relevant, right? Um, Maybe we used to support Mandarin Chinese as a user base, but suddenly we don't have any more users, so those aren't relevant anymore, right? We don't need that particular story because we don't support that language anymore, or for our product, right? Or it could just something that's irrelevant at that time, right? And then you go through the stories again and make estimates. Now this is key here, splitting user stories, and I've done this a lot with. So maybe they rated it as an 8, right? But maybe that's way too much for developers to take on, or maybe it's not granular enough, right? Maybe they need to refine it, so they'll split it in half. 4 points go to this developer, 4 points go over there. You've successfully you've iterated your story and split it. Of course, moving items to the top, things that are ready to go. So your grooming process, again, you're just keeping things in shape. You're keeping this machine well oiled, right? It's almost like maintenance too, right? You're checking the tires, things you don't need. Hey, do I need this? Do I need this product? Does this hose need to be here anymore? So these are things you're going to go through in your grooming process, right? And it's good thing to do to keep groomed and okay. So talked about story points. Okay, what are story points? Story points are think of it as currency. How valuable is this story to the project, right? How much is it going to cost me? How much time is it going to cost me to do this, right? And you don't want okay, so you want to estimate the difficulty or the ease of, right? This is simple, right? This is only going to take you an hour, but you'll find this at the more you work, once you start to get in the field. A lot of times, you don't want to underestimate, right? You say, oh, that's only going to take me I'm superstar tester. It's only going to take me 2 hours, and then suddenly you're stuck, 2 days troubleshooting this bug or whatever because you didn't. So it's better. You don't want to be too crazy on the other side, too conservative, but you want to have a fine balance of really know. And this comes with time and experience, right? As you'll learn as you stick with the class here and you go through some other things, you'll realize the complexity of the apps, right? You'll realize the play button is sorry, the play field is kind of complicated. So testing those things might take longer, right? Fixing those things might take longer. So you'll learn how to estimate these things the more you go. So a story point, in a sense, is a number. They can be anywhere from 5, 10. We'll talk about the number iteration and the sequences, but it just depends on the complexity. Okay, so in further detail, so a story, it represents, like I said, a currency of time. So, well, what's the value of one story point? Now, you want to make sure this is defined clearly in your organization, right? So that way they know, that one story point to you isn't, eight story points to somebody else. Make sure you guys are on the same page here. That could represent, one point could be 4 hours, which is this a half day. A lot of times, in places where I've worked, it would be just half day. Oh, this is going to take me a full day. Developers like, oh, it's just a button, dude. It's not going to take that long. But maybe they know more about the complexity going on. It could be a little bit of you want to make sure to be honest and accurate, and gain more respect when you do that, right? So 2 story points, 10 to 20 hours, right? 2 days, right? 2 days plus. So, but all you need to know, and don't expect to go to your first meeting and they're going to know exactly. Okay, first day here, tell us how many points is. You're going to just watch and learn, right? And as you experience, you start to build up this knowledge of, hey, that's going to take a lot longer than I thought. I don't want to. You don't want to sell yourself short. So make sure you give yourself enough time. Okay, so this is why we're teaching this, because story points are important because they set the expectations. So Fibonacci, I know I'm pronouncing that because I like Italian food. So Fibonacci sequence, okay? Story points. We talked about 1, 2, 3, 5. So these are iterations, right? So to 1, to 2, you add a 1, right? Okay, so the next step up, you're going to add 2, right? 3, and then you keep going in that sequence. Okay, so now we added 2, so it's 5, and before that was 3, so now it was 8. But then before that, it can get confusing. But you're taking this. It's a sequence, right? It's a pattern, right? But that doesn't really matter. The most important thing is that you know how long this is going to take, right? The reason they use these points is because somebody that might be a epic task we're going to talk about here, or a huge story, it may be a lot longer. Then you see the coffee thing. That's the unknown. That's the unknown charted territory. You don't want to pull that. Um, you don't want to pull that out too often. But yeah, it's so that's the sequence. But the most important thing for you to learn is what's the real value of what you're testing. Okay, and that's how they do it via Fibonacci. Okay, t-shirts is another example, right? There's a size. Small isn't just small for everybody. Yeah, we talked about small stories, right? Medium stories, extra large stories. Think about it like I don't know if there's any movie buffs out here, but think about short film, right? 15 minutes short. Medium, maybe episodic, 30 minutes, right? Large is going to be maybe a longer movie, right? 90 minutes, maybe a comedy, right? XL is going to be Lord of the Rings, right? It's going to be this giant epic that's going to take you through 3 series and 3 chapters, whatever, sequels, right? XL, it's going to be your points, right? Your 40, 30 to 20. So you have that range, and you can plug it in, okay? And you'll find that it's important to have that value stored in your brain, because that way you can actively proactively talk about this in meetings. Okay. So the Irishman is a good one. Or like, yeah, any of the Lord of the Rings are long. Okay. So we're going to do some practice here. So we have a pretty good amount of people on the call. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to send you a link to something that let me see if I can pull it up here. And bear with me here one moment while I get this up. And what we're going to do is we're going to actually go to this website, and we're going to estimate the first see if I can get some volunteers. I'm going to try to keep it to anywhere from 5 to 10, because in reality you're never going to have a team larger than 10. So, and if I can just get some people, one second here. If I can get I'm going to start it here, then I'm going to get a link. Let's see if this link works in here. Okay, whoops. Okay, and I'm going to send you this this link here, if you bear with me one moment. And let's see, Scrum Poker. Okay. And what we're going to do is you're going to estimate. You're going to estimate what it'll take. Give me one second. And then MLS. I'm going to give you a link here momentarily. Okay. Okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to. So when we get the first, let's see here. We have answer in here. We can make sure I can see you here. Okay. It looks, oh, we got somebody in there already. So oh, maybe this is, hold on one second here. I'm gonna, okay. See if just looking for this link here. Let me see. Let's see if it should open up for me. It's just my computer's taking a second here. And once I get that, okay, so to see the SDLC example, and I'm just gonna put this link here. I'm going to give it to, let's see here. See if I could private message. Okay, so who's ready? Okay, so there's a few. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and see a few people that are ready here. Okay, this is the link to, now you're going to take a look at this and you're going to see basically how long in the LMS, right? You're going to estimate how long you would take to, okay, there's another one. So I'm going to send you this link here. And okay, so I'm going to try to, okay, just trying to keep up with the, so we have some volunteers. That's good. Shows initiative. And you probably have access to this, but, and well, okay. So you can see that here. And then I'm going to send you the Scrum Poker. Okay, where did it go? Bear with me here one moment. So now this is the link. You can go over there. And I'm going to give you the session should be good to go. Okay. So okay. And I'm going to send you this link here. What I'm doing, and I fortunately can't send it to everybody because if I, yeah, there's the, okay. So we got, okay. Well, we got some pretty good feedback here already. Now let me see if hold on one second here. We're not getting the, I have to actually start it. Let's see. Okay, let's try this. Let's okay, so I'm gonna see if you get that link. And what we're doing here is the reason we're not seeing it here is because we want everybody to kind of give their estimation what it's going to take to go through that SDLC process. You're going to watch that video. Not actually going to watch the video, but you're estimating how long is it going to take. And like I said, can't send it to everybody because it'll if we have too many people on the. So let's see here. Okay, it should have given us the. All right, here's one. For some reason, I'm not seeing it here. Okay, let me. I'm gonna try this. It's not coming through, so I'm gonna stop this one and I'm gonna restart it. Because it's not, for some reason, it's not coming through. We're gonna start a fresh one, okay? I'm just gonna call it. Okay, yeah. Okay, it should let me. Whoops, I'm sorry. Actually, I'm gonna join here. I want to just create. So what we need to do is we just want to estimate what we think. All right, if that's yeah, for some reasons. So do you guys have access to the video? You can see we can just what we can do is here we can just do a number, what we think it's going to be based on now watching that video, right? It's going to be 5. This is an LMS, and I'll send you the actual link here. Then we can get some feedback. Let me see if I can go back here and get you the link. And just tell me what you. Now we're sitting here as a team, right? This is actual. Now you might have cards, right? You might have. Whoops, I'm sorry. I'm going to send it to all panelists, everybody here. So. Yeah, so that's the task. And what and you can go ahead and take a look at that, and you want to estimate how long you think it's going to take. Think about to get through the actual task. Okay. Um, so so basically the remember five is like 2 days a point. Okay. And you guys have access to LMS? You can get in there. Um, okay. So, okay, let me bring this up here again. So if you can't log in here, this is our, let me see here. Uh, okay. So it should be, okay. I want story points. Why is that link in here? Okay. Yeah. So let me see if we can find the task here. Okay. I want, okay. So let me see here. So okay. So the estimation, right? Let me see here. Let me see if it's the right task. Okay, we just want to make sure we're looking at the right. Let me see here. Okay, so if you have access to that, and you can anyone see it on the screen here? So this is let me see here. Let me make sure it's the right task in 1 second. Okay, this, not sure if it's, okay. Well, all right. So let's so does everybody have a chance to take a look at that? What the intro and the video about how long do you think it would take to estimate to do that? And since we're not, if we can just do the Zoom, we can in Zoom, you can just go ahead and give me the number what you think you'd estimate that, right? If we have run into technical, if it wasn't working, we can just plan it here. Okay, so what we want is make sure you get, yeah. Okay, so we get some feedback on what we think it might be. Okay. let me move. All right, let's just move on then. Okay. Let me. So we're talking about and this is what we do in in a Scrum meeting. We'd actually plan it out, and we'd have the points that we want to go through, and this is what you're gonna be able to determine how you're gonna do to move forward. Um, okay, let's make sure we have everything covered here. So we'll get a lot more practice as we go further and do actual Scrum meetings, and we're gonna get a collection of the story points, and we're gonna be able to determine that as we go forward in our in our process. So there's a lot of different options out there that you can use for the story planning. A lot of times they'll put PowerPoints for the points. A lot of times they'll use sticky notes, right, to say it's going to take 5 points. But your point here is that you want to make sure that you have ability to plan out your points and go through it. And let me go ahead and go to the. Give me 1 second here. So I want to make sure you have access to the. We're going to talk about the. So we're going to talk about the process here, right? Basically, if you guys want to go further and get continual practice, right? We have the guarantee, right? You can go through 2 weeks. Basically, if there's something that you don't like within the 14 days, you have that option. Of course, the full guarantee, right? You have the first year. If you don't land it within a year of active searching, you have that option. Some additional questions that we like to that we go. All classes are live, as you can see. We go through different things here, run into a couple of things, but it's not required that you attend all the live classes. They'll be recorded. You'll still have access to the things like the Scrum Poker online and things that you can do. The homework, like we mentioned before, is required because you get access, you get practice to do that, right? And the job assistance, you're going to get mentoring sessions, the mock interviews. You're going to get practice coaching. All right, you're going to get interview, but go all these things, right? Because different things can happen, right? So we're going to go through that process. Actually, the resume is important, right? So you want to put everything that you've learned for your resume and experience, like everything you've learned here, you'll be able to also put on there. You'll be able to add that, and we'll help you tailor that so it fits. And of course, the internship, right? We talked about that as well. You're going to actually practice, do stuff, go through different things because you're going to run into all kinds of different things. And you're going to get web and mobile practice. And of course, they talked about different options you guys have to installment plans, right? If you can't afford it all at once, you can make an installment. There's a lot of different plans there and different options. You're just going to reach out to the office and they can get that to you. So I want to give you time to go over this again. You're going to get the theory, right? Virtual instruction. You're going to get the homework, right, with the feedback. That's important, right? You're going to actually get response to your homework, which is important, right? A lot of times you'll get that ability. So you're going to get real tools that you're going to be able to use. Like Scrum Poker was a free one, right? That we saw that a lot of times you have those options. You're going to get these are things that cost thousands of dollars in the field, and you're going to get access to as a student when you start working with it. Android Studio, Xcode, these are things that you'll be able to use. Browser Stack, so you have access to all these with that. Um, Real projects, we talked about the Humans website, the mobile player, which is called Wire. So you're gonna be able to work on real projects, and this is important, right? You're gonna go through things just like I had an issue with the software there. You're gonna run into things, and you're gonna be able to support, and you're gonna be able to file those as a ticket, right? But you're gonna get support from your teachers, your mentors. Um, there's coordinate, just like a real company, right? You're gonna be able to work with that. There's a real community going on, and you're going to be able to have that. Um, you're going to get working in small teams, right? You're going to actually get some students together and teachers, and you're going to have. But I definitely apologize with the access, and we'll get that set up, and make sure LMS is set up and everything there, and Scrum Poker. And we get a lot of practices the next class. If you stick with it, we'll be able to go through all that. But job search assistance experience, so everything's there. So 2,500, right? But I want you to see the coupon again, for the first students that sign up today to go further, right, and continue with the course. You get the coupon, an extra mentoring session for free included with myself. That's something I'm offering today. If you sign up today and you're able to pay, the price is only $23.97, and this is a 2-month, 9-week, right, course intensive. And we'll basically run into everything here you can think of, and that you're going to get this real life experience, right? It's better that you run into it in the academy and learn, right, and get ready for the field. And you're going to get a lot of experience that you may not have. So we have some time I left some time to kind of to look over this and ask some questions. I know the Scrum Poker website was giving us some issues, but just think about it like we're in a team, and we're going to plan out these things as we go through the process, right? Grooming, planning, storyboarding, story pointing, right? All these things are going to be taught to you, and the more you do it, you're going to go through things, right? And this is what makes you a stronger professional, right? So again, you scan this, and you get the discount. Is there any questions as far as, let me ask this, as far as like, is there any things that are unclear as far as how the course works? And there's going to be a lot of quizzes, a lot of testing of your knowledge. And so there is a automation. You might learn a little bit of that. There's a more intensive automation. There's definitely different theories that we teach. Like I teach a SQL class. Let me go. This is just a slide here for Q&A. There's automate, and there's ones that are going to teach you the planning. You just like everything that you do, you're going to be well prepared for the field, and like little hiccups like this that could happen in the real world, right? It's all about technology and testing those things through. And even if you tested it during the demo, right, sometimes those things can happen. Yeah, and the real life experience is something that it's going to change your life. And the lessons usually last 1.5 hours, right? Like today, it's 10:15, so we're I'm sorry, it's 10:15 my time, so it's probably earlier time, 7:15 Pacific time. But you get access to everything you need, right? LMS, Jira, all the different software products that you need. You're going to get access to. You're going to get the mentoring sessions, right? That the ones that sign up today will get some free, but if you need them, they're inexpensive in the future, actually, to get more practice, more hands-on experience. And as let's see if we talked about you give some homework for continuing for the next lesson here. Let me see if it's here. Okay, so but in the LMS, there's going to be some information that you want to go to prep for the next course. And yeah, if you stick with it, you have a lot of opportunity to learn something that's gonna change your course, and you're gonna run into all kinds of things, right? Doing practice, and of course, this is sort of like a trial opportunity, right? For some people to see, but if you actually want to commit with it, and it'll be something that's well worth it. Like I mentioned before, there's these other boot camps. I don't know if you're in the last class; they cost $10,000 on up. This is a great value, and you get professionals. You get the presentations and the system that are there for you every week, that you can access. You get a lot of resources, and the schedule. Remember, the schedule's simple. It's only an hour and a half, right? What, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, right? So only 3 days. If you like, if something comes up, you miss a class, you can always go back and watch it over again. You're gonna have a lot of opportunities here to learn things that you that you need to learn for the field, like we talked about planning. We talked about the software development and those kind of things. These are things that if you just went into an organization, you didn't know, you would be able to to jump in with some knowledge, right? And of course, there's additional resources available, and the videos you can watch that'll help you. And the classes range. The schedule should be in there, but of course, if you sign up today, remember you get the discount here, and the mentoring session for the first 10 students today that continue to sign up. So does everybody kind of have understanding based on the SDLC and planning, why we do the agile versus waterfall? Does it seem to make sense a lot? Yeah, I felt like this is a lot of stuff that I've dealt with in my experience. And like, again, this is just a quick sort of overview. Like, next class, we're gonna definitely go into it, and we'll make sure we have planning, Jira access, things like that, and definitely, waterfall is used maybe in older companies where they didn't probably do storyboarding, right? So they just basically waited, get everything out the door and tested. And we'll talk more about stories. You actually see stories, right, in Jira as we get them set up. And you'll have you'll be able to actually add your story points and estimate, okay, how long is it going to take? And that's just hooked in. You'll be able to actually put it in there. You don't have to use a site there. That you should be able to just go in there and add your points, and you'll be able to really get some hands-on experience. It's going to help you in the field. And if they ask you on your interview, you're going to be able to say, yes, I went through this process before, and I learned about it. I have some experience, and whatnot. So it's very valuable. And I think for the most part, I feel like we've covered a lot. Again, you can always go, and you can to that Scrum Poker. You can go online and try to do it, enter the information, and just see how it works with planning. And all it is basically just a card hidden, and then you flip it over, and then you see how many points it's worth, and then you add that together as a team of 5, or when you get in your teams, you'll actually be able to do that, and you'll actually be able to plan it out. And again, I apologize for the technical difficulties, but when you're relying on other sites, things can happen. I'm not sure. We did it before and it worked fine. So yeah, any concerns about payments or getting through? And I appreciate you guys understanding. And of course, we'll get more practice as we go next week. So again, you can take the code here and the coupon. It'll actually be sent to you via email, and then they'll give you some more information about that. Congratulations again on winning the bug competition. That's really some powerful bug hunting there. You actually really got into it and got some experience. And in the presentation will be now, if you have LMS access, you should be able to watch it again and go over the slides. You have the documentation. Yeah. And some of the, actually, so the question was, will we get to go over some of the bugs in the from the competition? And yeah, I'm not. I think we'll talk about some of those bugs, um, and we'll be able to. This is important because you'll be able to realize there's a question about story points too. Standards, like companies to have a different standards, right? Some companies don't use story points. They just figure how long is this going to take. Some use a different depending on your project planner and your team, your team manager, things like that. But you'll get standardized, um, and you'll basically you'll have the idea how long things take, and you'll be able to have the story points available. And the more you progress, it'll just be like another planning session. So, and the homework that you have to continue here, just to get ready for the next class, and ensure that ensure that you're ready, uh, and the access that you need. Um, and let's see this. Yeah, and the Scrum meeting for the next class, you can go through, see some examples. Right, there's some videos um, in the system that you'll be able to practice. Um, and if you need, like, of course, like finding bugs, right, you're gonna have more experience, and it's not just, so the whole process here we're teaching you about is not just Scrum planning, although it's part of it, right? And different kind of things that you can do. Um, and like we'll do Scrum Poker next class, and we'll make sure the access is working. And we'll do some practice sessions beforehand as well. But yeah, the next class, so I believe it should be Thursday. So yeah, and you'll and you'll be able to have set up for that, and we'll definitely get some actual hands-on experience, and we'll be more focused on the actual process of practicing rather than just theory. Okay. Um, so you guys got the link again, and I do apologize for the website difficulty. Not sure what happened, but you got the idea of Scrum uh, planning and how that happens. Um, and if you guys continue with this, it's definitely a very rewarding career, and it's something that's worth your time. And I hope the information, and it's a lot of information, but I hope you enjoyed it. And you can watch this over again, and you can jump online. That Scrum Poker is available to everybody. You can play around with that before the next class, which is Thursday. Just to reiterate a couple questions there. So, all right, thank you so much. I appreciate your time, guys, and we'll see you. We'll finish a few minutes early here today because I know you guys had a long day, and we'll definitely see some examples of bugs. People were asking about that, so we'll see some examples next week. And I appreciate your time. All right, have a good day. Thank you. See you on Thursday, everyone. Bye bye.